So I typed my first book report on a typewriter. And in 1979, I used my first word processor to produce a paper. I think I was the first person in my entire school to do that. And in those days, banks closed at 3 p.m. They weren't open on Mondays. Al Gore was still inventing the internet, and this was a smartphone. And subscription services in 1979 were basically your newspaper and your phone, or maybe your magazines. But really, the idea of buying things as a service wasn't that commonplace outside of those core, like the newspaper and the phone. Today, it's wildly different, and I'll challenge you that this is going to change macroeconomics in addition to probably your business. Today, you can buy anything by subscription. It's a company in Atlanta called Interface Floor that'll sell you carpet as a service. At night, they come in and replace the worn tiles, so you always have fresh carpet. You never have to actually own the carpet. I am a subscriber to toothpaste. So I buy toothpaste as a service on Amazon. Every 4 months, they send me a pack of 4 Crest. My web designer, Dylan, that's picture Dylan there posing. He's a bodybuilder. And he buys protein as a service. He subscribes to a Steak of the Month club. And the reason I bring this up, this new world of anything as a service, is because it drives a new kind of metrics, new way to measure your business that I think is critically important, especially if you have a business that has anything to do with the internet. So I'm going to teach you about some of the key things that you need to know about. So the first one is monthly recurring revenue. And there's, this is the amount of money that you receive every month based on your current subscribers. And you can think of it in aggregate or an individual subscriber. So Caleb, subscriber at desk.com, I charge him $49 a month. My recurring revenue from Caleb is $49 a month. And even if you're not in the business of selling something over the internet, you sell widgets, if you have a customer that comes and buys something from you on a regular basis, it starts to look a lot like a subscription business or a service business. So I challenge you to think of your business, even if you're selling widgets, as a subscription business, because a lot of the same rules apply. So what are the metrics for the service economy? So I think the most important metrics for your business, in my opinion, is customer lifetime value. So how do you calculate that? What is the lifetime value of a customer? So it's the sum total of all their purchases over their lifetime. Another way to look at it is it's the monthly recurring revenue times the number of months that they're your customer. Pretty straightforward. The next most important metric is customer acquisition cost. You'll hear people call it CAC. I don't like that, but that's what it's called. And that's really all the money you spend on sales and marketing to get that customer. The reason these are the two most important metrics, in my opinion, is because if you know your customer lifetime value, that looks a lot like revenue. And if you know your customer acquisition cost, that's a lot like cost. And if you know revenue and you know cost, you can calculate profit, and that's the whole reason you're in business. So the last really important metric here, and one that I think is essential for metrics practitioners, analytics practitioners to understand, is retention rate. And that is the percent of your customers that come back and pay again next month. So if you have a 95% retention rate, that means you have 100 customers, that means 95 of them are going to come back and pay you again next month, 5 of them won't. Another way that this is expressed is churn rate, which is just the opposite. The 5 customers don't come back. So now this is worth the price of admission if you haven't been exposed to customer lifetime value calculations. And that is this customer lifetime jiu-jitsu. So if you know your churn rate, and if you've been in business for 5 months, you at least have a proxy. You know how many customers you started with the first month. You know how many new customers you have, and you know how many of your old customers stayed with you. So you know your retention rate. And as you go over time, your visibility into your actual retention rate grows. But even a business that's been around for 6 months has a concept of a retention rate that you can project. And here's the beautiful thing, that if you take the reciprocal of the churn rate, you end up with the average lifetime. And if you know the average lifetime, if I can predict on average how long Caleb is going to stay with me, and I have a sense of the average monthly recurring revenue from Caleb, I can calculate the customer lifetime value. Number of months times the monthly recurring revenue. Really, really key stuff. So why is retention so important? Well, here are two examples. Same business, service, it's $50 a month on average. The one on the left has a high churn rate, 20%. Only 80% of the customers return every month. The one on the right has a lower churn rate, 5%. 95% of the customers return every month. Has huge impact on the average lifetime. So the average lifetime of the customer on the left is 5 months. See that 1 over the churn rate? The average lifetime of the customer on the right is 20 months. And what that means is the customer lifetime value is $250 for the high churn business, $1,000 for the low churn business. If you've got 1,000 customers, the difference in your revenue is $250,000 versus $1 million for those same customers. So retention rate is absolutely huge. You make small incremental improvements in retention rate. It's a lot like making small incremental improvements in conversion rate at the top of your funnel. So I'm actually going to get into funnels and metrics. So as a practitioner of analytics in business, I believe your job is to connect these. I believe your job is to take the sources and costs, paid search, affiliates, lead gen, marketplaces, wherever you get your customers, calculate your cost of customer acquisition as best you can, and connect it to outcomes of value, the most important one being actual revenue, but there are other outcomes of value, word of mouth referrals, some viral marketing, maybe you've got some people creating content that helps you rank in SEO, but really you want to connect sources and costs to outcomes of value, and you want to drive the cost of acquisition down and the lifetime value of the customer up. There's lots of levers you can pull, and we could spend an entire day talking about the levers you can pull, but that's what you really want to do, and I think at the highest level that's how you want to conceive of metrics. And the reason that this changes, I think, the way you might look at your job is the typical marketing funnel, and what most analytics people spend their time on is on this kind of left half around customer acquisition. And so you have your sources, running ads in AdWords, and there's a click-through rate. And you're trying to get that click-through rate up, and that's the conversion to a visit. And somebody comes to your website, and they either convert or they don't convert, and that's conversion. And we call that the marketing funnel. The goal is to get as many people into the end there, and it's shaped like a funnel because people drop out and it gets smaller, and the end result is a customer. And I believe that's half the job, right? The other half of the job is retention and ongoing revenue. And every business is different, but here's a model, and I call it the Uber funnel, which looks at the entire business a little bit like a funnel. And I'm sorry it's so small. I'll try to walk through it. Is the lavalier mic? Because I keep turning and can you guys hear me all right? Yeah, okay. So the very left, you see the traditional funnel, the sources, the visit, to maybe engaged visits, people that come back, then maybe they register or they become a customer, then they first log in, then they become an engaged trial user of your service. So this is my business, right? They become a trial user, and then another subset of that group becomes an engaged paying user, and then ultimately they become an engaged paying growing user. And each of these can be looked at as a conversion event. So I can take somebody from just a visitor into an engaged visitor, and I know my conversion rate. What percentage of the people that visit my site become engaged? And I can take people from engaged to registered. What percentage of my people convert from engaged to registered? I can go all the way through the funnel for my entire business and calculate my percentage rates. And you should do this for your business. You should identify what you want to measure and calculate how to actually get that data and calculate the conversion rates. And then just like the traditional marketing funnel, every one of these points has a potential abandon. So some percentage of the customers leave at that point. They register for a trial, but they don't actually become a paying customer, or they become a paying customer, but they're paying $5 a month, and they never become a $20 a month paying customer. And every abandoned customer is possibly somebody you can recover. So you should look at the abandons in addition to the conversions. And I think the way you want to take action around this is really you figure out these key indicators of engagement. What are the measurements that you can take that identify a user as being at one state of the funnel and moving to the next state of the funnel? The next thing is do this measurement and segment these customers because customers behave differently. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run campaigns against different customer segments that behave differently to try to make one of these numbers go up. The way we try to do is we pick a number. We pick some place in the funnel, and I have a team, and we say, okay, this week we're going to try to make the percentage of engaged visitors that register go up. What could we do? Well, we could change this landing page, or we could change this structure, or we could change the wording or remove fields from the form. And you can do that at any point in your funnel. And by optimizing these things collectively, you end up increasing the power of the business. The goal is to increase the conversion rate at every point, and ultimately the conversion rate at the end, which is engaged paying customers, and to increase the velocity through this funnel. Simple way of thinking about it, a customer today in a recurring revenue business is worth 12 times what they are a year from now. So the more people you can get farther into the funnel faster has a huge impact on your business. You build these models in Excel and you just change a couple of those values, you accelerate some of the conversion rate improvements, and it has a huge impact at the other end. I encourage you to do it. So here's a real case study. This is my business and how we looked at it. So we have people that come to our website. They can become a trial user. If they become a trial user, we either treat them as engaged, and there's lots of measurement engagement, but let's just pick a simple one. I mean, you can get really sophisticated with this stuff. Pick a simple one, like did they log in again, right? Or are they logging in every 3 days? Just pick some simple measurement. And then if they were engaged and then stopped being engaged, we call them lapsed. If they just say, I don't want to hear from you anymore, and they cancel their account, they're canceled, or their trial could actually expire. We have this big moment of conversion, which is the end of the trial, which is do they enter a credit card? And there's an incentive to enter the credit card, which is they actually get something for free. They get to keep their account for free and get the basic service for free. If they put in a credit card, they're either a free account or they're a paying account. And so the green bars in the upper right are my paying customers, and the bars in the blue are my free customers. But they've moved farther in the funnel. And I'm sorry this doesn't look like a funnel because I really couldn't make it work that way. Everything got so small at the end. And the same sort of lapsed, canceled cycle appears in both the free and the paying. So then once you've mapped this out for your business, you should identify which path is the most valuable. So the one we picked was, well, can we take trial users directly into paying users? Is there a way to do that? Can we create incentives? Can we run campaigns? Can we change the language? Can we change the way the form works into paying users? That's our highest value preferred path. We spent some time optimizing that. Then we identified our second highest value path, and that is, well, people that come into trial, we can get them into a free account. We create this long tail of this giant river of free users, and every month can we move a percentage of them by creating value for them into the paying category. So that's our second highest value preferred path, and we spent time optimizing that. And then we looked at sort of these high leverage accelerated paths. So could we take a 30-day trial for an engaged user down to 10 days by offering some incentive? Because again, this idea that if you can accelerate people into your subscription model, you're going to make a lot more money at the end. And can we accelerate people that are engaged but using the free product into using a paid product by offering maybe a smaller increment to becoming paid, or offering new products that we sell into that group that are exciting for them. And then we looked at last these what we call these high leverage recovery paths. And these are people that have essentially cycled into an abandoned part of the funnel, but we feel like they showed some indication of need to use our product. And so we run campaigns to try to recapture them, to move them into an engaged category again. And then there are other possible recovery points, and we actually haven't done a lot of work here, which is a customer who canceled their account. Are they a potential recovery? Or someone whose account is on the verge of expiring, but isn't using it. Are they a potential recovery? And really, the point here, I'll stay here for a second. So the point here is figure this out for your business. Identify the highest value paths. Identify how to measure where your customers are on those paths, and figure out, pick one that's of high value to, and try to make those numbers go up. And again, this goal is to connect your acquisition cost to revenue and tie this all together in this giant funnel that has a meaningful impact on your business. And the last thing I want to do is, because somebody asked me this the last time I presented this, which is, well, what do you mean segmentation? So we have really sophisticated segmentation now. We have about 90 fields in our database that come out of our product, and some of it comes out of analytics, and we have this a messy system for tying it all together. But this was our first stab. We sat down and we said, all right, what is the simplest set of buckets we can imagine people are in? And this is the ones we came up with. So the cold fish. If somebody comes to register for a product and never does anything, we don't even know why they register. And then there are first day frets. And that's first day, they're excited. They do a lot of activity, but they never come back. And then there are customers that are actively engaged, and these are users that are logging in on a regular basis and doing high value activities. And then there are folks that are lapsed, which means they were actively engaged but stopped being actively engaged. And we picked hypotheses. We said, well, I wonder if cold fish are people who really don't have any interest in our product. So we surveyed them. Do you have any interest in a product like ours? Turned out about 25% of them did. They just forgot to try the product. I thought about it. I do that too. I sign up for some free service and I wait for the confirmation email, and by that time somebody's called me and it's below the fold on my inbox and I never see it again. So it turns out these cold fish, who on the surface seemed as if they were completely useless to my business, turned out to be actually really significantly meaningful prospects for the business. And the same thing with these other segments. And now our segmentation is quite a bit more sophisticated. We have a lot more segments, and it's very proprietary, so I'm not showing it. But that's the process that I encourage you to go through. So that is my presentation. And wow, I was really efficient. I thought that was going to be okay, a lot of time. So I think I should open it up to questions, because I imagine there are a lot of questions. Do we have a